TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Welcome to this special Vibecast spinoff, Episode 1, Spiro, with an exclamation point. Spiro, the only podcast on Earth devoted to the 39th Vice President of these United States. In Episode 1, scholar and charter member of the Nattery Nimbobs of Negativity Society, Dennis Chiccino, takes us back to the 1968 Republican Convention in Miami, where our journey begins, and I've just been handed a paper. Sadly, we've been notified that the funding for Spiro, provided by Rick Anthony Foundation for Rick Anthony Podcasting, has been pulled. We now take you back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
All righty. It's time to celebrate. We're 18. We're an adult podcast now.
18.
Yes, it's episode 18 of the Vibecast, a podcast celebrating and documenting the history of the Philadelphia-based band Chico's Vibe. I'm your host, John Parkinson, here as always with producer extraordinaire Matt Kelly.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid, in addition to no Spiro podcast, we have even more bad news to start tonight.
Uh-oh.
Another last-minute change here at the Vibecast studios. We were supposed to have two icons of Philadelphia music here with us tonight. Happily, one chose to be with us tonight. But I regret to say that Matt Gallagher, the cat of Philadelphia, the first call trumpet for major artists who come to play Philadelphia. Matt took the call, and as we record this podcast, I regret to say Matt has canceled our scheduled appearance on the Vibecast to play tonight in a band for an artist who's playing in Philadelphia tonight who has deep enmity for Chico's Vibe.
Oh my gosh.
Matt Gallagher is taking his trumpet talents to the City Winery as we record this to play as part of the band for the 80s sensation Tiffany.
Uh-oh. Are you kidding me?
He jumped ship.
The mall is unavailable.
We're hoping to get reports from Tony DeSantis, who Matt bumped for the gig. We got word that they're pushing back the start time for Tiffany's concert tonight.
Gee, I wonder why.
Hey. But that's okay. We shall not be stopped by an 80s teen idol with a vendetta. And look, I've seen pictures of these guys from the 80s, and they were Delco music teen idols then. And quite frankly, they still are Delco idols now.
Yes.
Yes, we have the David Cassidy, the Justin Timberlake, and the Harry Styles of Delco music. From Chico's Vibe, Dennis Chiccino, John Gephardt, and Ed Mount. Gentlemen, welcome.
Yeah.
And also
Good
joining
intro.
us tonight, and right now wondering to himself why. A legendary Philadelphia musician who's an integral part of the Philadelphia community and best known nationally as the drummer of the band Huffamoose. I've been told that his friends call him the Rick Springfield of Delco. It's an honor to welcome Erik Johnson to the Vibecast.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Erik.
Wow.
So Dennis, I almost went with Bobby Sherman for you. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
I Hey Little Woman, yeah.
There you go.
Bobby
That's a
Sherman
Sherman
tunes.
song. He's not referring to me. So this teen idol
Julie,
stuff.
Julie, Julie.
Do you love
Oh, yeah.
me?
I know all the Bobby Sherman hits.
Sherman Hemsley, he sang it?
Yes, he did. He sounded like Joe Frazier, actually.
I did.
He had great dance moves, man. Sherman Hemsley, he could dance.
Wait, could he?
Oh, yeah. Do you ever see the scene where they put the stereo on? And they're all, he's doing this thing with his legs. He's going like, He's doing this. He could. Let me tell you something. Michael Jackson probably learned the moonwalk from Sherman Hemsley.
Eric, if you've never listened to the podcast, it's the rest of the night. This is how
Everything's you're moving on up.
It sounds like the voices in my head.
Yes. Wait, so speaking of this T&O stuff, I thought it was kind of interesting because I think at least going back to Sinatra and probably before, every generation has had their own teen idols of music, and some are good, some are bad, some move past that.
Right.
And so I was wondering, as we cross paths with Tiffany again, and for those who don't know, we had a gig previously last summer, and we got bumped so Tiffany could play the gig. So we've been bitter ever since. And she is at the City Winery tonight.
Is that what that doll
night,
is over there with the pins in it?
Yes.
Actually, the night we were bumped, we all joined the Debbie Gibson fan club.
That's
right.
Yeah.
So we're opening for
Yeah.
Deborah.
Hey,
Yeah, Deborah.
one thing I forgot, Dennis will like
And
this.
Crisscross, I think.
Yes. Tiffany was more than a one-hit wonder. I mean, she had 2 number 1 hits.
Yeah.
And also a top 10 hit with I Saw Him Standing There.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Clever.
Yeah.
I think that's where John Yadish lifted the guitar part he plays from the for us.
So I know she did the Tommy James song.
Right. I think
We're
we're
Alone
alone
Now.
now.
That was her big
That was
hit.
her.
Yeah. And what was the other one?
I
you said?
can't remember.
There was a Harry James song.
Cheer, cheer, a pin. I think she put
Seems to
lyrics
me
to
I've
that.
heard that song.
I'd go to that show. I'd see that.
But I mean, so a question: do you guys are there teen idols that stand out for you guys over the years that you either hated, you liked, you kind of respected? And I have and teen idols. The definition in my mind, music teen idols are their main appeal could be a guy or a girl, but the main appeal is to teenagers, generally teenage girls. And I kind of have a list. It goes Sinatra, Elvis, Ricky Nelson, Johnny Ray, because that's how the song starts.
Yeah,
Poor old
yeah,
Johnny
yeah.
Ray.
Yeah.
So, but it goes on. David Cassidy, Donnie Marie, the Jacksons.
Frankie Avalon.
Yeah, Frankie and Annette.
Sean Cassidy.
Yes. Yeah.
I do run,
Leaf-
run, run.
That-
I do
yes!
run,
Leaf
run.
Garrett.
That's Leif Garrett.
Leif Garrett. Yeah.
And then Leif Garrett ended up on that E! show
Yes.
where they do like commentary about stupid videos.
Yeah,
No, I
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
seen
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. It was like, it like predicted like the internet. It
Yes.
was like, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was like, dumb commentary about people like falling into industrial
like-
equipment and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's on like True TV, I
Yeah.
think, or
Okay,
something.
right,
It's
right.
like the world's dumbest criminals and
Yeah.
things like that. And he's on that as like a comedian.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he has like a bandana.
Yeah.
And he looks like a meth gang biker dude,
Yeah.
No, he's cool. It's like he doesn't look like Glamour Kitten anymore.
Yeah.
He kinda
Okay.
lost that vibe.
He was on. There was an episode of Wonder Woman that centered around him.
No way.
Yeah.
You know
She
what?
was-
I do
You
remember
can't get
that.
these
I
facts
can't-
anywhere
I
else
tell you.
but the Chico's
But I do
podcast.
remember that. He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it ends with him doing "I was made for dancing," and she's as Diana Prince in the audience, like smiling and dancing, and they do that thing where they go "din-na-na-na," and they pause it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they, like the star goes like that.
Ah,
Okay, well, and if you need any other help,
I know what I'm looking up. I'll be like on YouTube, like Wonder Woman, Leif Garrett.
Eric, did you ever meet Wonder Woman when you were on tour?
Depends on what you mean by meat. MEAT.
A little Ardmore connection fact with Leif Garrett is his drummer was an Armour guy, Ricky Sexton.
Really?
A really great drummer from way back, 70s. He played in all the local, well, not all the local bands, but in a few of them.
Wow.
And he was really good. He got the Leif Garrett gig. He went out to California, and within, I don't know, a couple years, he was dead.
He wasn't part of the Skinheads, was he?
Now he had, he had like the flowing. He looked like Leif Garrett. He had the flowing, long hair, but he got all messed up, and he had I don't know if it was a Porsche or a Ferrari or whatever the heck he had, but like right over a cliff.
Oh, really?
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And great guy, nice person. Everybody loved him.
That's a bummer. I thought you were going to go Tommy Conwell. I didn't know. Because he was from Ardmore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ardmore,
He
Ballackinwood,
didn't,
yeah.
but he's Ballackinwood. That would be a Ballackinwood.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend.
Jeez, whoa, God.
Do you know your zip codes,
It's
kid?
like the West Side Story, the Jets and the Sharks. It's Bella and
Sexton lived right like across the street from Stu Sully's Normandy. You know, him and his family, they lived right there, right in the heart of Ardmore. And I think he might have went to St. Denis a couple years and things like that. So it's definite Ardmore connection.
Okay. We could. That's a whole other show.
Can you say,
That's
can
true.
you say Elvis was a teen throb?
I would say
mean,
Elvis.
Elvis
I would say
was,
the
yeah.
Beatles were. You know,
Yeah.
but
I mean, there's
Elvis.
the people that grow out of it, and their
Yes,
art
the
speaks
people who
for
survive.
itself. Like, you know,
Jerry Lee Lewis, yeah.
yeah.
You could go that
Well,
way.
he married teens.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he liked teens,
He married teens in the family.
which is a special version.
He was a
that's why it
teen's
was
idol.
Great Balls of Fire.
Something wrong here.
But then we get to like
Balls actually on fire.
we eventually do get into. I think the category of boy bands probably wasn't official till. I mean, there were the Osmonds and the Jacksons, but really till like New Kids on the Block in my mind.
Right,
or that
right.
thing that
Yeah.
started the whole.
Yeah.
And then some, like NSYNC.
And the
Timberlake
funny thing is, our friend Dom Durbano
is in
loves that music, loves boy band music. And one time he had like
Is
four.
this
or
true?
five,
Are you making
yeah,
this up?
No, I'm telling you, when he was doing the sound, he had like five. He had like 5 boy band songs in a row. And I went up to him and I went. This is your playlist, isn't it? He goes, all right. He goes, I freaking love it. I love it. It was like I caught him doing something like, you got me, all right? I love it. It's good stuff.
Your Dom Durbano sounds like your Travolta. Too, don't it?
Hey, the hair.
Hey.
The hair.
Don't touch
Don't
the
touch the
hair.
hair.
Actually, Dom's like,
So Britney Spears is in there, kind of, and then Jonas Brothers, the J Bros.
Sure.
My daughter was
Yeah.
a big J Bros fan.
Hanson.
Hanson, yeah. And then One Direction was where Harry Styles came from. So
Right.
we're doing Harry. Are we doing Harry Styles tune Saturday?
We are.
Yes,
There you
it's
go.
in the set.
and it's Wooder. Wooder.
Wooder.
Watermelon.
And it's not
Watermelon
sugar,
sugar.
it's sugar.
Sugar crushed.
Watermelon sugar.
And you say crushed, like it's like water ice. Watermelon sugar crushed. Watermelon sugar crushed. Watermelon sugar crushed.
So I didn't even know what he said. So,
Water.
in a real song.
I think it's like a social commentary. Probably.
I kind of Delco it up a little.
Yeah, I like that though.
It sounds like he's
McSorley's, you got it though.
Hey, it's water.
You say this is what the guys at Pops say on Oregon Avenue. Water, sugar, melon, crushed.
Yeah. Wit.
Wit. You haven't lived until you have had a cheese slurpee.
Man.
Oh my God.
Why am I in the hospital?
Yeah, right.
I had a
you want,
cheese slurpee.
You want some fried onions on that Slurpee?
Next.
Yeah, right. Next.
Yeah, I like the people that
They're intimidating down there.
like slow the line down, like that don't know the method.
No,
they'll go
yeah.
up to like a girl. Can I have a cheesesteak with what do you want, honey? What?
Yeah.
Just like a move. Next.
Yeah, they push you out of the way.
And this is like 4 a.m.
That's right. Yeah, the Seinfeld soup Nazi was not a revelation to Philadelphians. We were like, oh, come on, man.
Exactly, yes. Anyway, I wanted
Now,
to...
I know so many more teen idols. Now you got me rolling.
Yes,
Okay.
this is what we do.
I mean, you're not even going to know them. Billy Harner, the human percolator. Sally saying something.
Are
Remember
these
that
all
song?
Ardmore people?
No, this is just.
Did you have to go to
Well, he's
did you have to go to special movie theaters? to
South
see it?
Philly guy.
Yeah, they were up in
the
North
human
Philly.
percolator. Wink, wink.
You guys don't know that song?
Put a quarter in the machine.
No.
and
Saying something.
I might have heard Sally saying.
Here comes
I
Lady
heard sneaking Sally
Sanka.
through the alley.
That's,
Here comes Lady Sanka. She's percolating. Just add hot water.
Wait, he's just getting started. What up?
I'm sorry, you're trying to do a show here. Oh, poor guy.
Oh, he's got more. You told me there's so many you didn't even know.
Napoleon the 4th or 5th or whatever. She's coming to take me away.
Wait, I
had that
for a little
45.
bit.
Yes, to the funny farm.
We're
Life
talking
is beautiful all the
mid
time.
'60s weird, such like the weirdest music.
like Napoleon. He was like,
The
Waterloo, Waterloo, I'm a sore loser at Waterloo. I've got herpes and syphilis.
Wait, what?
Didn't he have syphilis? Everybody in the army had syphilis. All the French had it.
There goes.
Sorry.
We,
Yeah,
just
how did
lost, we
we-
just lost our whole French
Yeah,
audience.
how did we go?
The 1910 Fruit Gum Company, Herman's Hermits. I mean, you got all these
Oh, yeah.
'60s things.
Yeah. You want to keep going, or is it content?
Well,
No, I'm done.
I was going to say, when I was young, like a teenager, even before preteen.
I thought you were gonna. When I was young,
Yeah.
never need
My biggest influence as and could say a teen idol was Brian Wilson.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Like
were
the Beach Boys were teen
kids
idol.
when they
Yeah.
started.
Dennis and I have had this conversation. When you look at pictures of the Beatles from back then, and then the Monkees.
Yeah.
I mean, not the Monkees, and the Beach,
Beach
Boys.
Boys.
It's like these guys are really cool. These guys. Yeah, I go to high school with them, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
Clean
they're
cut.
just-
And yeah.
Because if you just saw the name Beach Boys, you
Boys.
think like
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the guy's like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
There's a video. I forget what they're called. Somebody put it on YouTube where they just strip everything out, and it's the Beach Boys thing, and I get around, but they strip all the music out and dub in their own. But the Beach Boys are just playing. What's
Is it
what are
like
they
one
called?
of those
They're
shred
called
videos?
It's a shred
Yeah,
video.
yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
And
that.
And
it's
it's just like
amazing. Yeah.
you hear like the string and
Because
the
there's
note.
just
Yeah.
like unplugged guitars, and then Dennis Wilson's like,
It's all off beat and everything. Yeah. I've seen those. Yeah, they're all like, I get around.
and then it pauses.
And they're great.
They always cut to the audience, and the audience is loving it. Because the Eric Clapton one's great, and he's going like, and the drummer's like, and they cut to the audience, and they're like,
Always on 1 and 3. Every single time.
Wait, Eric, do you have any others that come to mind?
Teen Idol stuff?
Yeah.
Well, the reason I said Sean Cassidy is
Yeah.
because when I was a kid in the suburbs of Boston, I had the Sean Cassidy record that came out when I was like 5 years old. So I used to listen to that. Partridge Family.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But then Grand Funk Railroad, Caught in the Act, the live record, and
Wait,
and Frampton Comes Alive.
That was one of the first albums I bought.
But
Who was
wait,
that? Was it Sean Cassidy? Come on, everybody, get down and get with it. Who was that? Nobody knows.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
That's rock and roll.
Grand Funk and Peter Frampton were serious. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they had seriously good stuff, man.
Oh, and Steve Miller, Fly Like an Eagle. That was the first
Oh, yeah.
record I bought with my own money.
Nice.
Ah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that was probably because I was a big Steve Miller fan before, like, The Joker and all that. So that was probably maybe his 10th album.
Yeah.
You know.
So that may cover us for Teen Idol.
All right.
Oh.
So we have a new segment. So Eric, we do recurring segments
Uh-huh.
on the Vibecast, and but we have introducing a new segment this time around. It's what better transition from Teen Idols and Tiffany to our new Dennis Chiccino feature.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
We have a new recurring segment. This is sort of I'll call it a Chico's Chico's Revenge segment, right?
And,
The swimsuit calendar.
Yes, it's got a long name. Hopefully,
Chico's my swimsuit calendar.
Wait,
each,
what is
each month is one of us in a swimsuit.
Oh
The
God!
Beach Boys.
No, I can't
Except we're
see.
the beached boys.
Oh, thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Oh, I'm gonna get a tan now.
Thank you.
oh, that's okay.
And I'm.
Look at that. You wrote notes.
I made notes. Yeah.
Excellent. So this,
It's a manifesto.
yeah. So the name of this, the name of the segment. It's got a long name, so hopefully I get it right. It's called Dennis Chiccino's Songs I Want to Talk About on the Podcast, whether Gebby and Ed want to or not.
Well,
All right, I'll see you guys.
I wasn't in that meeting.
no. Gebby's played on this song when we used to do the Doc Strong Band stuff, so he knows it very well.
Okay.
And you know, I'm glad we have this quality drummer, Erik Johnson, because
Yes.
I mean he'll
this
know.
this month's song. Wait, I got to introduce
ahead.
it. And do you want me to do a little background about the thing, or do you
Go
got it
for
all? Okay. So this month's song for the Dennis Chiccino songs I want to talk about on the podcast, whether giving it.
I'll tell you. Go.
It's in memory of Elizabeth Reed, by the Allman Brothers. And I have some background. It's a instrumental in memory of Elizabeth Reed. It was written by Dickie Betts. It was originally recorded for the band's second studio album, Idlewild South, recorded early 1970. The album was released September 1970. The album version is 7 minutes long. It's a recording of a single performance that I've read. So I guess it's like just a full take.
On Idlewild.
Wow.
On the Iowa,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it was on at Fillmore East. That's 13 minutes long. The song was inspired by a woman, but her name was not Elizabeth Reed. It was named after a headstone that Betts had seen in Rose Hill Cemetery in Macon, Georgia. It's also, incidentally, where the Allman Brothers, Dwayne and Greg, are buried.
Yeah, 3 of them were there.
Yeah, and Barry Oakley. Betts was in a relationship with Boz Scaggs' girlfriend, and he didn't want to use her real name. And as he said, she was Hispanic and somewhat dark and mysterious, which kind of, I think the song captured to some
Yes.
degree.
Yeah.
He told a writer once asked how he wrote the song, and Dwayne Allman jumped in and said, he bleeped some girl across the tombstone. So that's, so apparently that's how the song got in memory of Elizabeth
Wonder what that
Reed.
missing
So-
word is.
That was etched on the tombstone
Yes.
you saw in
There was
memory of Elizabeth.
There's a
Reed.
tombstone of Elizabeth Reed,
Yeah.
and the speculation is that he was with her there.
Are you continuing, John, to take all my thunder?
No,
away?
I'm done. I'm going to put my notes down, and then let's go.
But it was.
You can repeat everything, and then
was
he'll just edit me
inspired
out.
by the dark, mysterious woman.
Yeah.
But there was a tombstone that said Elizabeth Reed.
Correct.
And those Greg and Dickie and those guys used to go to that cemetery a lot for inspiration and to write stuff, and they would meet there and hang out. But they'd write a lot of their songs there. And turning to my notes, John, I can't even read them now.
You want me to read it?
I don't know if you're going to be able to.
Wait, where's Monica? Is she downstairs?
Well, anyway, so it's a Dickie Betts competition, and for you guys that don't know the Allman Brothers very well, they had 2 incredibly great guitar players, Dickie Betts and Dwayne Allman. This was Dickie wrote it, but he wrote a lot of the Allman Brothers' most famous songs, most popular songs, we'll say. He wrote Revival, which was, I think, on their first album. That's the one that goes, "People, can you hear it?
Oh,
Love
yeah.
is everywhere." That's Dickie. And he wrote Elizabeth Reed. He wrote Blue Sky.
Excellent.
Yeah, another famous one. What else, Gab?
Who wrote Whip
Not
and
Mike
Post?
Cross
Be
the
done.
Bear?
He's well.
Who wrote Whip and Post?
That's an old traditional arranged by the Allman Brothers.
Oh, okay.
Not Mike Cross. the
Ramblin'
Bear.
Man. He
Ramblin'
wrote,
Man,
Oh,
right.
wow.
which isn't like typical Allman Brothers.
That's not one of his favorites.
No, we're not going to talk about that one.
No,
Next
we're not going to. But
I just think of Steve Martin. I'm rambling, man. He's
Rambling.
but it turned out to be the biggest hit.
Yeah, that was their big pop hit, right?
Yeah.
Wow, he's really good.
That guy's good.
This guy's good.
Here at the boarding house.
Like getting into the actual songs. Like,
every
Dickie
5
Betts
minutes. Here at the Fabulous Boarding House in San Francisco.
We lost control. Oh. Wait, you made that mouse spit out a drink.
I missed
Gee,
that.
I got $4. I think I'll
My
throw it in the
allergies are
street.
cured. I just did a nice nasal rinse with Wawa iced tea.
Yeah, I think so.
It's fine. Whatever it was, it's laminated.
Whatever it was.
What's that smoke?
Oh my God. Sorry, Dennis.
So go ahead.
Wait, what's this? What's this segment called again?
This.
What
So
fluid?
anyway,
Dennis.
Name that fluid.
Dennis Chiccino songs I want to talk about, and I don't care whether they're Gebby. I want to.
gonna be like the nuns in the Sistine Chapel.
Do like Pope John Paul. Silencio.
But anyway, Dickie Betts was a huge Coltrane fan, and you could hear his influences, in Elizabeth Reed especially, because it's just like theme stated, intro theme stated, and then they go off and they come back to theme again, then they go off again. It's kind of has those jazz aspects that way. But in the very beginning of the song, it starts off with just like this lazy rhythm, the Greg's keyboard just playing these lazy chords, and Barry Oakley's bass just behind it, and those Allman Brothers drummers who never really do much
No.
of anything. They just kind of shuffle around, and J-Mo's doing some offbeat stuff on his, his whatever he has back there. I know it's not congas, but he has just some other kind of Latin instruments. They just lay down that thing, and then Dickie Betts comes in over top with these guitar swells and volume swells. I can't do it. Do it, Kev. Like a Dutch strong. But he plays a little melody.
That's the beginning of Roundabout, isn't it?
He plays a little melody with this stuff, with these guitar swells, and it's kind of like it sets this like surreal feeling to this song. It's like almost hypnotic. But this is the verge.
Like, it stays like, and then there's that.
Yeah, well, that once it gets into the theme, he's jumping way ahead.
It goes in all these different.
Yeah.
different
So
sections.
anyway, Betts is playing these, and near the end of that section, Dwayne joins them. They're playing in unison. Then they break into harmony, and bang! That's when the first theme hits.
Right.
Theme one, and they do that typical Allman Brothers walk-up thing, double guitar walk-up, to bring it into Dickie Betts solo.
Yeah.
And then he takes off, and, he just goes wild. The one thing I like that always impressed me about all their double lead solos, when they're playing in harmony, is like it creates this it's like modal or something. It always sounds like almost Arabic to me. What are some of those modes, Gab? Phrygian, you would probably know them.
Yeah.
These strange modes. It's like nothing that I ever heard ever again. Like Leonard Skinner couldn't even get near it, even if they tried to get near it. Any of those Southern rock bands, none of those bands, Warren Haynes, none of those guys. It was just the Allman Brothers. But Dickie takes that solo and he takes it up as high as he can get it. And then bang, right down into a Greg lull. Greg Allman plays his, B3 organ. And you're kind of like after that Dickie Betts solo, especially like if you're listening to it on headphones, you need a little bit of a break then. It's like, woo! And now here's Greg, like, nice and easy, nice and easy, nice and easy. And then here comes fucking Dwayne Allman. And, I mean, that solo must be 8 minutes long itself.
So if you're going to pick a version to listen to, do you do studio or do you do the
Oh,
film?
no, live at the Fillmores.
Just checking.
You got to be kidding me, John.
Hey, whoa, hey.
Hey, what's going on?
Were they from
Yeah, he's
Ardmore or Bell?
tense tonight.
I'm thinking this is Duane Allman's greatest live solo in the Allman Brothers, in this Elizabeth Reed. I mean, because he takes it up, he takes it down, he gets to these heights where it feels like you're at like this Dionysian friggin' crazy festival in the woods or something with girls jumping all around, and you know what I'm talking about, Bacchanalian or whatever. He brings it up to there.
Dionysus is your god.
Nuts out of my mind. And then it ends. It came into one of those little drum things for maybe 8 bars. And then they state the theme again, and take it out. And it's just like after that song, I'm just like, all right, I'm not doing anything the rest of the day.
And then he gets a text from Geb.
Right.
When are you getting to the gig?
Exactly.
Now we know. Now we know why,
So I just think it's one of the greatest instrumental pieces in rock music history.
And I've played the song many, many times, and I feel the same way at the end of the song after Doc's solo.
spent.
Because I'm like, are we done? Because,
We had Stevie Straw.
I'm just so out of my mind at that point. Like, I can't play these chords anymore.
Just a little side note. You remember those guys that had the show Car Talk on NPR?
Yeah,
the two brothers. I know one of them passed away, but they were talking about the story about how different they were. That they went to the Grand Canyon, and then one of them's talking about he's emotional. He's looking at this thing like this is one of the God's greatest, And the other brother's like, I'm going back to the car. He's like, wow, it's big. Cool. I'm going back to the car.
And that's Chico and Gebby.
Yeah, he had a religious experience with that song, and Gabby's like, all right, is this almost done? Almost done? All right.
Oh, man, I'm not even talking about playing it, whatever. Just listening to that song, and I'm done, It's like Duane Allman's guitar just like sends me into the stratosphere, and I'm dancing around the fire with all the Bacchanalian chicks, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow. All right, good. That was good.
You wake up naked in the zoo.
Where is Chico, and what have you done with him?
With a dead cat in your mouth. You're like,
Oh, my God.
Oh, shit.
He was up all night watching Almond's Hub and this and that.
I hear that solo. I go, I'm going to eat some cat.
He wakes up.
What the hell?
As far as jam bands go,
Well, wait. So
nobody like them. Not even
So
the
this
Dead.
is a very interesting segue because when Eric's here and eventually, we're gonna talk to him.
Yeah.
Nah.
So no, and I think I mentioned before we started that I watched the documentary. Here Comes Huffamoose is the name of it, right? And you talk about jam bands in that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and
I've been
'cause
reminded of this.
Some people considered you guys a jam band, Huffamoose. Right?
Yeah.
But would you call the Allman Brothers a jam band? And Dennis is separated from you by Gebby, so you can say
That's
whatever.
true. Well, I think they were a band that jammed a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
But
They're not.
But I don't like when I think of a jam band, I think of like, the Dead,
Yes.
Fish, String Cheese Incident, like these, these bands. But the thing about the Almonds is it was exciting.
Yeah.
For me,
You want it
the
to-
jam band stuff a lot of the time just sounds like some people who took a little too much acid.
Yeah.
And they're staring at one fret for like 45
It's
minutes.
fascinating to them. Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like,
It's all
like
here, man.
say something,
It's
hit
all
it and quit
here.
it.
It's on this fret, man.
Eric,
Everything
I
I
used to
need's
go
on this
down.
fret.
You're talking about jam bands. Well, this band wasn't popular nationwide, but I would go down to those Smokies Was it Smokey Joe's?
Smokey
or like
Joe's?
42nd or something.
Oh, Walsh's?
It was Wally Smith.
Crosstown Traffic.
Yes, exactly. With what was the drummer's name?
Yeah, well, back then it was
Randy.
Ronnie Crawford.
Oh, Ronnie Crawford played with the Daves. I'm a
Right.
big Daves fan.
Yep.
I mean,
And I played with Crosstown when
Yes.
Ronnie left to play with
when
Lisa
Ronnie
Loeb.
left, right?
And that was the first time I ever
And I
played
saw
Elizabeth Reed
you with that band too.
at Walsh's. Yeah.
And
Yep.
Davis on guitar, yeah.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's, these guys talking about Gebby saying, when's the song over? It would be like a 20-minute long song, but
Oh, yeah.
every bit of it was so effing good. It was ridiculous.
Well,
So
when
I would
Greg,
go all
when
the
Greg
time.
Davis is soloing, it's like you just
Yeah.
want to sit down and listen.
That's cool.
I mean, he's just
Wally Smith, those. Do you guys know Wally?
No.
yeah,
I know of him. Yeah.
I know
Tall,
Wally World.
skinny,
Yeah.
nice guy.
he's awesome.
He always had that big P3. Carried it around with him.
He still
everywhere.
has it, but now it's up at 118 North in Wayne.
Oh yeah.
Is that where it is?
excellent.
He does like every Sunday there.
Really?
Or
Okay.
not, I don't know if it's every Sunday. I've done a bunch of them, and he does it with different bands.
Oh, cool.
I
Yeah,
did
right,
one
okay.
with him and Greg, and we did Elizabeth Reed.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
That was the first time I knew that song a little bit.
Yeah.
When I was like 30 years ago, and I remember Wally called it, and I didn't want to seem like stupid. I was like, oh yeah, I know it. And there's all this section, and I'm like,
That's good.
I'm like rewinding, like being in my garage in 1983, listening to WMMR.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and I'm like, I don't know what to do.
And by the way, you just did that part perfect.
So he did it. He did it better than Geb did when you said, "Geb, go."
That's my favorite.
Well, that was
part
a
of the
whale
whole
sound.
tune.
Oh,
One
right,
of-
okay,
that-
different
that's
part.
one of the parts that makes me think like they're in some crazy mode that I never heard of before. You got those.
Do you go to any panic part of the set? Like, is there a special part of the set when you have that panic moment? Like,
You just go to the loudest part and look really committed. I know what I'm doing.
people in the audience are like, he's so awesome. Oh my God.
So just so our listeners know, I mean, Eric's he's not a random guest. He subbed with Chico's Vibe. He's played with us a couple times.
Yeah.
There's one concert, I think it was Souderton. It was kind
Souderton,
of a
yeah.
big outdoor concert.
Yeah.
And then he had the Bryn Mawr Fire Company experience.
At the Villanova thing, right?
Yes. You got to experience the number
Fireman's
one
Band.
song for firemen everywhere. The Fireman's
song.
Band.
Fireman's
You might have
song.
left the room for that.
Band, oh, Fireman's
Band. Here's my heart and here's my hand.
That's where they all stand there and go,
Oh yeah, that's how it starts.
It's like a weird Gregorian, like, there's like,
Bob Bear's
this
Eagles
portal
cheer.
opens up.
yeah, right.
And a magic axe floats in the air.
You are the chosen firefighter.
They chant the names of the company. Bonner.
Marion. And at the end of the night, you must never talk of what you have seen.
Yeah, when they come out and they're wearing masks and like these weird beaks, I'm like, hey, all right, I'm out of here now.
Plague doctor mask on with
Oh, geez.
Oh my goodness. So, one question before we get started, I was just curious. The documentary says Cameron Crowe called it one of the best rock documentaries ever.
Yeah.
Did he really say that?
He did.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, it's a really good documentary too. Anybody
Yeah.
listening, it's really good.
It's worth seeing. The
It
guys
is.
that did it, they're Paweł Kaczynski was one of the filmmakers, and he was like an award-winning Polish documentary filmmaker.
excellent.
I think I met that guy down at one of those Eric Horowitz studio nights.
He probably did.
Yeah.
Oh, the subterranean.
Yes.
What was it? At the Rusty Nail.
Yeah.
No. It was down at his studio that was right like across the street from Pat Steaks.
Oh, yeah, the Meat Locker,
maybe?
The
The
Meat
Meat
yeah,
Locker.
yeah, the Meat Locker.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
what did
where
they
it was.
subculture town meeting? That's what they called it.
Yes,
at the
yes,
That's what our night
Subculture,
Did they do finger
subculture
snaps
town
for
meeting.
applause?
Yeah. Well, he brought in like sofas and lamps. And
Oh, yeah.
it was awesome.
Oh, my
And
God,
Eric
that
and I
sounds
would
cool.
go in there in the afternoon and start like converting the place.
Yeah.
And
It
we
was a
never
vibe.
freaking got paid.
No.
I did a couple of those
Excellent.
with you and Doc,
Yeah, subculture.
Chico
town.
Huff.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
no,
and
that
art.
was the acoustic. That was the Thursday night thing you're talking about. The Thursday night
I
jam.
thought it was. You called it the.
Which
Which one was the one where they branded you?
We never speak of that one.
All right.
Subculture Town meeting.
what's going on?
Like women would come in there from Bryn Mawr College to recite their poetry. And it was like they just want to slam men in all their poems. The Bryn Mawr girls.
Oh,
They would come in,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Their poems, slam, slam, slam. And we might have like a featured artist. We put their artwork up all around the place. Some of it's really good stuff. What was that girl's name? Jen. I forget her name. She wrote. She drew like the big flying piano down in my studio, through the whole place. Heather Ripper, you know Heather, right? All kinds of artists, and we had a palm reader.
How come can we get them to come out to McSorley's on Saturday?
I think so. She's 85 years old now,
I think
But she's probably really good at the palm reading
Yeah.
right now.
she might have been. She was somehow involved with you guys.
Wait,
Could it
what?
have been Jimmy Stager's?
Oh wait, are
Does
you
she have
talking
an
about
ex-wife?
Margaret? Yeah.
That's who I think it was.
Oh, seriously?
Dark hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it was.
Well,
Harmonic
that's
convergence.
funny
Yeah, well-
because she was into all that kind of stuff.
That's
and,
who it was.
And one time I went to this bar in Ridley with Stager, and Todd Rundgren's sister Lynette did our tarot card reading.
Oh, my
And
God.
And we hooked it up through Margaret.
There you go.
She was into
Yeah.
all that astral plane shit.
Yeah,
You know
well,
what I
she
mean?
was our
Eric, let's go way back.
she was our mystic.
Wow.
Yes.
As we travel back through time.
In the words of Joe Frazier, we go way back.
Chick, where we going?
When did you first pick up a musical instrument? Like what was it? Do you remember what age you were?
Oh, I do very clearly. Yeah, I was when I was like 3 years old.
What, 3? Holy
Yeah,
moly.
I think I just messed this up. Yeah, I was like 3 years old, and my grandmother lived next door to this family that the two brothers had like a little wedding combo. They were a duo. David played a farfisa organ and sang, and Robert played drums. And so I used to go over there and like mess around on his drums.
Oh,
And
awesome.
So I started at home. I started taking out all the pots and pans and this pair of wooden spoons. And I would set them up like a giant drum set. I mean, this is probably 1974.
My God, cool.
So I'm already out of high school at this point.
So in 1976, my parents thought we should get him drum lessons.
Okay.
So there was a guy in Boston named Chuck Puro, who I still stay in touch with once in a while. He was in a band with a famous harmonica player, James Montgomery.
Okay.
The James Montgomery band was like this killing blues band. Like Boston had a huge blues scene. That's what Aerosmith kind of came out of, actually.
Jay Giles from Boston, were they?
Oh, maybe.
Because I think, and he's a harmonica player, right? Jay
Yeah,
Giles?
I
Magic
think so.
Dick.
Yeah.
Right.
Magic Dick, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
So somehow my parents found Chuck Puro, and he started coming to the house and teaching me. And
Oh my goodness, nice.
and then that was for a couple of years, and then we moved to Philly, and I started taking lessons with a woman here named Elaine Watts. She was a Curtis graduate, a female percussionist who graduated from Curtis in
Nice.
probably like the early 50s. It was
Wow, that's pretty
unheard of.
cutting edge. Cool.
Wow.
And she was this hilarious, like, little woman. She would smoke cigarettes all day.
And she would, at the end, she would, get out of here, you drunken bum.
And I would never practice what I was supposed to practice because I would go home and play to, like, Who records.
Yeah.
And I would go to the lesson, and she'd put music in front of me, and I'd be, like, squinting like I couldn't see it. And she's like,
You know, I think you need glasses. I'm going to tell your mother.
so, like, my mom came, and she's like, something's wrong with the kid's eyes. And so my mom takes me, my vision was perfect, and then the jig was up. It was like, you just don't know how to read music. And
What a great fake out, though. I mean,
Yeah.
squinty.
I can't really see it.
but I could play like Shout It Out Loud from like Kiss records, like just like Peter Criss. So that's how it
I mean,
started.
if she went to Curtis, what was she teaching you? Because you had her training's classical. She was just teaching how to read.
Well, she taught me rudiments.
That makes sense.
But she also taught me mallets, timpani.
Cool.
And then she was the one that really got me into playing drum set sort of properly.
Okay.
Because my teacher in Boston, he only did snare drum with me because he thought I was too young.
Yeah,
but I was, I was a pretty precocious kid, and I was really into music, and I just kept doing it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and I still stay in touch with him. Now he lives in Florida. He's such a cool dude. And man, that guy had a shuffle. He had the baddest shuffle, like because they were signed to Island Records and Capricorn.
Okay.
I mean, these were like huge labels back.
Wow.
So,
Allman Brothers Capricorn.
yeah. So he used to bring me vinyl of James Montgomery Band, and so I would put it on, and I would get my practice pad and try to be like my teacher.
Excellent.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
When did it pop in your brain the music was what you wanted to do? As yourself, yeah.
Fourth grade.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was 9 years old, and I knew that I was going to be a drummer.
Excellent.
Oh, that's great.
Or some sort of musician. I started playing saxophone at that age too, and messing around with guitar because I always wanted to play everything. Like I was curious about how music worked, and but I knew from that point. So that's when I stopped doing my homework.
Okay, yeah. What were you listening to? I mean, you talked about the Who, and what were your influences? Rock, non-rock, jazz. I mean,
I was really into pretty hard rock, like late 70s. But my dad had a lot of jazz records, so I would listen to like these Brubeck records that he had, and he specifically had Ellington live at Newport, 1958.
I love that. With Diminuendo of Blue, Crescendo of Blues. It's just stunning.
The Paul Gonsalves.
Yes, it's
solo.
Yeah. Have you ever heard this solo? It's amazing.
Oh my God! Yeah.
It's just so swinging, And supposedly Papa Joe Jones was on the side of the stage beating a newspaper on 2 and 4 the whole time. And the band was just on fire because of that. I think that's
the audience is just going. It's like a riot. Almost.
It is, yeah.
Wow.
But so I listened to some of my dad, and he had all these records of like Broadway shows like Flower Drum Song and South Pacific and Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah. Oh, we're a big Jesus Christ Superstar unit. Yeah.
That's how I learned to play in 5/4 because of Everything's All Right.
Right, Everything's All Right.
And I loved Yvonne Elliman when I was
Me too.
Like If I Can't Have You.
Oh,
yeah.
Saturday Night Fever, huge album for me.
Well,
I mean,
it's good stuff.
I still listen to it.
There's an Yvonne Elliman version of, I think, when Clapton toured,
Yes.
took her along, and she sings a version of Can't Find My Way Back.
I love it.
Yes.
So good.
So what? EC was here, I think, is the name of the album.
Love her.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
man.
So when did you guys come to Philly? When did your family?
1978. I had just turned 8 years old, and my dad's still alive. My mom passed a couple years ago, but my dad was an architect, and he worked for himself in Boston.
Oh, geez, wow.
And it was really hard. So he got a gig as a corporate architect for Food Fair, Pantry Pride, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Like Penn Fruit.
Food Fair, Penn Fruit, baby.
Right? So he was one of their lead corporate architects, and it was the first time he'd ever had a corporate job. So we moved the whole family to Philly. They bought a 1980 Chevy Citation. Soon, he bought that a little while after, but I mean, it wasn't long. Like, we moved here in a 1970 Monte Carlo towing a U-Haul trailer, overheating the whole way. It was like August, overheating the whole way. It took us 14 hours to get here from Boston. I still remember it. But 6 months after we moved to Philly, the company went bankrupt.
Oh, yes.
So we were kind of like SOL.
Yeah, right.
Penn Fruit, Pantry Pride, all those. You don't see them anymore.
Because it just went, they got eaten up.
Belly up.
Yeah. Oh, nuts.
Well, my mom says as a child, I didn't call it apple juice. I called it pen fruit. Because it was in the big glass pen fruit jar with the girl that had she had like covering something and trying to balance something on her head.
Like Carmen Miranda?
Yeah,
right.
It was like a little. That was the
Oh my God!
So when you said Penn fruit, I just had this craving for apple juice.
Apple juice.
Neurons are firing. Why am I tasting apple juice?
So when did things start to kick in for you in Philadelphia music? Like when did you start make connections? Was it in school? Was it how'd you get?
Well, I started having like a band when I was in like 5th grade. and we actually, you brought up Ramblin' Man. We played Let It Be at my 5th grade graduation from Penguin Elementary School.
Oh, wow.
But the one kid,
Did you say Penguin? So you're pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay.
This kid, Steve Denenberg, wanted us to do Ramblin' Man, but he couldn't sing. He couldn't match pitch. So he was like, it's like, Lord, I was born rambling man. And we were like, dude, no, that's not going to happen. So we kicked him out of the band. But I always played, with different people. But when I was 14, that was my first gig in Philadelphia. It was with, do you guys remember Dave Copa?
Sure, I still know him.
Played with him.
Yeah.
Scrapple.
Yeah.
He's Ed. He's the Copacabana guy.
He's Copa from Copacabana.
That's where it came from.
At Dave
Copa.
That's where the chair was broken too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was with and Pierce Turnay, who I went to high school with. He was in a band called Maggie Pierce and EJ.
Oh, sure, I remember that band too.
And then now he's in Him for Her, HYMN, and they like tour all over the place.
Oh, nice.
But we had a band that it was Dave's band. It was called Bluesion. It was like the band before Scrapple.
Oh, okay.
So we opened up for David Rowan and Existence.
Oh gosh, no way.
At Grendel's Lair.
First of all, I love
Grendel's
Dave Rowan.
Lair.
Grendel's Lair. I remember that place.
That was 14. That was my first gig in Philly. My dad drove me in our Chevy Citation hatchback.
Got a lot of use out of that.
Yeah, and we were bringing my drums up the stairs, and Daryl Burgee was the drummer, who's this killer Philly drummer, percussionist, like guru. Okay. And he's like, dude, you can play my drums. You don't have to bring all that crap up here. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So I went up and played his drums, and he was super nice. And Doug Grigsby was the bass player.
Oh yeah.
And I stood in front of those guys. I was 14, and it completely changed my life because I was like, Daryl. He gave me a nickname. He called me Spaghetti Boy because he said the whole time I was playing, it looked like I was just eating a giant bowl of spaghetti because I would just be like just playing the whole time. And then he was like, the fattest pocket I'd ever heard. And I'm watching Doug, and like they barely moved, and their groove was so deep.
Yeah.
It totally changed my life. Like
That's cool.
yeah, it was like. So that was, and then we did another gig opening for Dynagroove,
Oh,
Eric Horvitz's
excellent.
band,
Okay.
at Grendel's Lair, and
Do you ever, dumb question.
That
Do you
was
ever,
it.
because you mentioned old, you ever played the main point? That was the Bryn Mawr bar, right? Is that?
Yeah, but that was
No.
probably gone by
Gone?
the time.
Okay. I was just
yeah,
curious.
that was gone maybe
start
early
playing.
'80s at the
Okay,
latest,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. So that's how it started, and I started meeting people. I jammed with Tommy Conwell at the 23 East when I was like 16.
Excellent. Wow.
On like a Saturday afternoon. It was like something. And I, just started to meet people. But really, when I went to college, I went to Temple to study jazz. Okay. And I was gigging like 3-4 nights a week right from the time I started college.
Wow.
Yeah, making like $30 at Chris's Cafe. But it was great because I would make $30, and then I would walk to Tower Records on South Street and buy 2 records.
Yeah, right.
So I used to just spend all my money on records.
Did you ever see? There's a documentary called "All Things Must Pass." It's about the history of Tower Records. If you get a chance,
I haven't watched it, but it's come up in my feed.
Fantastic, yeah.
Oh, that's
but it's
cool.
It's a flashback to that Towers Records experience where that time frame we were all going to Tower
right.
Records.
It was
but
awesome.
yeah. But yeah, Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
And we
that
talked about
that was it.
that like LP mentality, like
Yeah.
with Shane last podcast.
Yeah.
How it's just that culture's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
was-
totally.
That whole experience.
I'd spend half of my Saturday in
Yes.
Mad's Records up in Ardmore.
Oh, Mads, totally.
When you mentioned Dave, it made me think of with Scrapple. Who was the drummer He lived in Ardmore.
Black guy? Or...
No. It was the...
Oh, Davis Basto?
Davis Basto.
Yeah.
And I played with them, and that was one of the gigs we did up... What was the place in Westchester that... not Westchester. All the way out 202.
Oh, I remember. Up at like...
All the way out
at
202.
Heading,
heading towards Route 1.
I know where you mean. It's not there anymore. It's
it's not there. It's a car dealership.
That's where basically where I live.
But I did a gig there with them, with Dave, and it was with Bo
Rafters.
Diddley. Rafters. TJ Rafters.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it was with Bo Diddley.
Whoa!
Wow, really?
It was Scrapple. It was Dave had gotten the gig, and he called me. And he said, would you come in and play with us? And I'm like, yeah, it'd be great. And that was a disaster because Bo Diddley, like, I'm thinking, all right, what are we going to play? And Dave's like, I have no idea because he didn't send me anything.
Oh, my God.
So the show was at like 8 o'clock.
Oh, my God.
We get up there at like 5 and he's not there. We're waiting. Finally, they rolled in about 7.
Oh,
all the people outside. He comes in, opens his case. His guitar's tuned to just a chord, a G chord. You know what I mean? So he's just, all he did was move his finger.
Yeah.
He just put his finger on the fret and it would change the chord. And so it was everything was dun, 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 it was all that kind of stuff. But he would pull his guitar out. So I'm looking at Dave and I'm like, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know. So he pulls his guitar out, doesn't say anything, and he just starts playing. So one by one, we start playing. We start coming in and playing. And all of a sudden, it's like 5 of 8. He hasn't said a word. It's 5 of 8, and they're like, hey, we're going to start opening the doors, And I'm sitting there going, what am I doing? What am I doing here?
Oh, my God.
And it was unreal, because there was one tune, he goes, I'm going to play... halfway through the show or something, he's like, "I want to play something kind of a new song now." We're all going,
a new Bo Diddley song.
It was kind of like an islandy type thing. So we figured out after he played through a whole section of it. All right, so we kind of know what's going on now. So we're playing with him, and he turns to me, and he goes, "Play a little." So I start soloing, and he's going, "No, play the line. Play the line." I'm like, I don't know the line. What's that?
What line?
That was like one of my fondest memories with Scrapple.
I remember that gig. Mitch owned that joint.
Yeah, Mitch. That's it.
He also owned the Rusty Nail at the time. And, he wanted to, kind of break into national acts and this and that. And so he gets some book that has every act that's going across the country and who's coming through Philly, and he somehow hooks up with Bo Diddley. And he said, "Oh, Chico, we got to get a band for him." I said, "Oh, well," I said, "Why don't you give Davey Copo a call? He probably, he's going to play all blues probably, Bo Diddley, everything's, they all the songs are the same." So he did. He got Copa, and Copa gets Gebby. And no rehearsal. No. I remember that day.
Oh my God!
And Bo Diddley's going, play the theme.
Play the line. I don't even know what it is.
Oh my God!
That's great, man.
Oh, man. But that's awesome. So
yeah.
But we also played with Johnny Copeland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
We opened
Real
for
good
him.
Blues. Yeah, right.
Up
right,
there.
Right.
Chico and Gebby?
No. People smile and tell me I'm the lucky. That was the opening thing. No, it was with Doc Strong.
Yeah.
We had like the blues band
nice.
with Doc Strong. Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent.
And
Johnny
they
Copeland
came
back.
in and
Johnny
they
Copeland,
were
little guy,
tremendous.
black
nice.
blues guy.
Yeah.
He's back in the, we were back there before he went out to play. And he's got like the typical blues man outfit on with the hat, And we come back and we're sitting there talking. He goes, "You guys are the best band I never heard of."
But I just remember when they started playing, and I just remember watching the drummer, because like you're saying, he just had that shuffle beat, and it's just like, oh man, it's just right there, right in the pocket, But anyway,
not to jump, time jump. The whole Huffamoose experience, like how how'd that come about? Like, what? I don't want to make you talk about more. I'm sure people ask you about Huffamoose all the time because in my mind, Huffamoose is an iconic Philadelphia band. Like I have this mind like 80s Hooters, 90s Huffamoose.
Right.
Kind of, which I think is really cool. How'd you meet those guys? How'd it move forward? You know.
Yeah.
Some of the experiences.
So I was at Temple. I had taken a year. I went to Temple for 3 years, and I took a year off, and I had like $90 in the bank. But I got a call. I was working at Medley Music for like 3 months.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
I was the worst employee they ever had. Like, I mean, there was this guy. You remember Gerson?
Yeah, Gerson.
We had this thing called Sales Olympics, and it was Saturday mornings. You had to get there an hour before the place opened. And I still remember it was like maybe my third Sales Olympics. And he said, I'd like to introduce you guys to somebody who hasn't been here that long, but he's by far the worst salesperson we've ever had, Erik Johnson. And I was like, and it's funny because like I know a lot of those guys that now, but back then I didn't really know them.
Right.
And they were kind of assholes. like they really were. They were just like nasty to me, and nobody wanted to show me how to use the cash register.
God.
But they were already in like the hateful phase of employment, you know, where
I'm trying to remember.
had nothing to do with you. It's just where they were.
Right.
Who was the keyboard guy? Kip?
Yep.
Kip Horn.
Yep.
I saw him last
Kip-
night,
Did
Gab.
you really?
Kip was cool to me.
Yeah.
Because
He
we had a
was-
he was
connection of
always a
this
nice
woman,
He was
Susan.
the guy I would go to all the time.
He
up
was
there.
a sweetheart. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was always cool.
And then who was the guitar guy?
Well, Bruce.
The one
Bruce.
Yeah,
Bruce.
Bruce. Hey, Bruce.
He had like humongous hair.
Yeah.
Like it was like Matt Bohansky hair, I should say.
I was going to ask you.
Gray and just
Matt Bohansky has it's an Oakland
and
Raiders
that's
helmet
exactly
thing.
what he sounded like.
Hey, Bruce.
Yeah, but he had.
He had a big car accident
He had a
when he
big
lived
car
in Arizona.
Oh,
And-
really?
But he was a nice man.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
a sweetheart. Bob Jordan worked there back then.
Bobby Jordan, Billy Archibald.
Bill
Yeah,
Archibald,
Bill
yeah.
Archibald, another very, very
Knew all
nice
those
guy.
guys.
My boss was a guy named Tom Becker. May he rest in peace.
Oh, I remember. I'm Tom Becker.
Big
yeah.
guy. Big
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But anyway, so I get a phone call one day, and it was this dude, and he said, "Hey, can you be in Miami in 2 weeks?" And I said, "Yes, I can." For what? You know what I mean? Because I wanted out of Medley Music. Like, I would have like cleaned sewers with my own toothbrush as opposed to working in this joint. So I was like, "Yes, I can." And I walked over to Gerson's desk, and I was like, "I quit." And I just split. I was like, I never even got my last paycheck. And so I went to Miami. When I came back, I worked on ships for 4 or 5 months, and it was not great. But I came back, and I started playing a lot of jazz with Kevin Hansen from Huffamoose and Jim Stager from Huffamoose and the great Philly jazz trumpet player John Swana.
Oh, yeah.
And an amazing saxophone player named Jerry DeLoach.
I thought you were going to say Ed Mount.
Okay.
Sorry.
He wouldn't even return my freaking calls, man.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And so we were playing jazz together like all the time. And then Kevin and Jim started playing with this guy, Craig.
Craig, yeah.
I knew Craig from college because I was in an ensemble with Craig my freshman year at Temple.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So, and I had done some jazz stuff with Craig because he was actually a pretty good jazz singer back then.
Really?
Yeah. And we made a recording, and we were trying to go to Japan, and then it never happened. So Kevin and Jim were playing with Craig, and they said, "Hey, you should come play with us. We're doing this thing at Casa Mexicana in Manayunk," which was on the 3rd floor of a Mexican restaurant. So that began, I guess being a drummer means carrying your drums up 3 flights of stairs. You know what I mean? So we started playing there. It was originally called Craig and the Eggs,
and then that's the name.
And then it was Craig Elkins and Meat, as in MEAT. And then
They cook the eggs.
yeah, right, exactly. And then in May of 1993, we decided to be Huffamoose. And we went to this guy, Drew Raisin. He had a studio called Big Sky audio.
Oh, sure.
Down in Springfield, like right near George's Music.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so we did a live 10-song, live to 2-track DAT tape recording. And the song James became like the most requested tune on WXPN that year.
Nice, okay.
And it was from a 2-track demo, basically.
Really?
That
Okay.
we put that recording on this thing. There used to be something called the Philly Rock Guide, which then became like Magnet or something. I don't remember. But we put it on their compilation, and XPN picked it up. So that was, we formed in March, became Huffamoose in May, and in August we put out our first record with one rehearsal. It was crazy because we were like jazz musicians. We didn't like to rehearse. We didn't like to work stuff out. You know, we'd like to just like mess around.
Wow.
Right.
So that's when we hooked up with a guy named Dean Sierra, who had like
I remember Dean.
well, he had a record label, but I used to call it a record logo because it wasn't really a label. But he's a sweet man. He just, whatever. It didn't work out.
Don't
with
worry, he
Dean.
doesn't listen to our podcast. So
As far as you know.
that's true.
Yeah, so anyway, that was kind of how it all. So we put out that record in '93, August, and the next February and March we went on the road for the first time. We toured the entire country in a Winnebago with no heat and a generator that broke the first night we had it.
Wow.
So we froze. Like we were sleeping in like Kmart parking lots in like Colorado when it was 5 degrees. So I would like sleep with like sweatshirts wrapped around my head, and our daily food intake was cans of refried beans that we would eat with little like Hanover mini pretzels. So we like lived on that, and then I had an American Express card, and I took us all out to dinner one night after we got stuck in a state park for 3 days because the engine froze. I mean, literally froze, like it wouldn't even turn over. Yeah. Wow. So that was '94.
Yeah, but then '94 was Woodstock, right?
Well, that's when we started working with a guy named Duran Siegel, who managed the Caulfields, who had a deal for Atlantic, and Matt Severe.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I know that. Yeah.
And we won a contest for WDRE. Remember, it was like the alternative rock station.
Yeah.
And we won a slot at Woodstock. So we were at Woodstock, and he had some primitive phone. He's holding it up while we're playing, talking to like LA record executives. He's like, "My band's on the main stage at Woodstock," and they're probably like, "Who is this idiot?" But we ended up getting signed from like by October of '94. We had a deal with Interscope.
That's pretty cool.
So it was like I don't know, less than a year and a half from our first gig to getting a record deal. That's
pretty wild.
That's just dumb luck. I mean, and Craig's songs. It was really because Craig's songs. Yeah, right. It didn't have much. I mean, it was good that he had decent musicians, but his songs spoke for themselves. You know what I mean? So I was very lucky to get that opportunity.
And that Woodstock, that was the one known for the rain, right?
The mud. It was the Mud Bowl. Yeah. Although, man, I just saw the one of the documentaries about the one in '99. Yeah. I was like, I can't believe civilization hasn't collapsed yet.
Yes.
That was like a harbinger of Armageddon.
It's like watching a horror movie that you can't stop watching. I mean, it was amazing.
And they talked about how the promoter.
That's one reason why they picked that.
He didn't know any of those acts, and it was one of the guys on the staff was maybe 22, 23, and he's looking at Korn, Rage Against the Machine. Like he's like, you're like pouring gasoline and then throwing fire and then throwing it. Like
speaking of
all these,
totally,
it's super funny but horrible at the same time. When the Woodstock, the guy from '69 had all the candles handed out. And
for a candlelight vigil at the end.
And everybody's lighting their candles and they start setting the whole place on fire. So they go to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They're like, you got to say something to calm everybody down, and they start playing Fire by Jimi Hendrix. Fantastic to you, Fire. And then it's just like
I was unbelievable.
So it's good that you weren't at that one.
Right. Man.
But how was it though, as an experience though?
Well,
was it a massive audience? I mean, when you.
Oh yeah. Like I think I had just turned 24, so I was just like, I was with my girlfriend, and like I was like, oh my God, there's so many. I mean, there were 150,000 people.
That's amazing.
But
man.
we set up all our gear, and the stage was separated into 2 halves, and it was on a rotating.
Oh, cool.
It was a rotating circle.
Yeah.
We set up all our stuff, and then the stage guy was like, "Oh, you guys got to go out and play. You're gonna have to play their gear." So I think Kevin and Jim, like, they dragged their amps around. I ended up playing this drum set. It had like a 26-inch bass drum with a rack tom that was like as deep as a kitchen trash can.
Oh my God.
So I couldn't even like reach.
Yeah.
So you hear the recording and you hear Craig like chicka, 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 chicka. He's playing this tune, and I go to like play there's like a buzz roll that sort of swells into the first part of the tune.
Yeah.
I didn't even have my snares on. It's like I like in front of like the most people that I'm ever gonna play for ever in my life, and it sounds like a Hanna-Barbera bongo, like you know what I mean?
they're like strong and wrong. Yeah.
Oh
strong
my
and
God,
wrong.
yeah.
Oh man.
But it was awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play a drum set that I could actually play. But it was great. And then we just hung out, and my biggest memory of that was in the food tent, like for the hospitality for all the quote unquote artists. I got to like talk to Todd Rundgren a little bit, who's like one of my heroes.
I love Todd. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an interesting cat.
I
man.
believe he's kind of freaky.
He's
I don't
11
know.
feet tall. Like, I mean, he's like 11 feet tall.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, hey, Mr. Rundgren, you know. And he was like very delightfully odd and a little curmudgeonly, but really likable. Like, and I was like, oh, I
Guy's
can't
been part of
believe
so
it.
much rock history. Like albums he's produced and
Skylarking XTC, one of my
Yes,
favorite
amazing,
records
yeah.
ever.
he produced some Grand Funk Railroad.
Yeah,
way back when.
yeah.
But I think Matt Gallagher still makes sure that his picture's higher on the Wall of Fame.
Right. So on the Upper Darby wall.
Yeah. Like Matt went there after hours, like took Tina Fey down and Todd Rundgren, put himself up.
These days he sends his kids in.
Yeah, right.
He walks in and
His
goes,
you
no,
art students.
No, this is all wrong. This is all wrong.
You guys want to graduate? You're going to do this.
Yeah. Who's Todd Rundgren? Don't worry about it.
I do recommend to people to check out the documentary because it's fascinating. And the one thing I wanted to say to these guys, if ever we ask Erik to sub again, we'll never pick a gig that's worse than one of the gigs that's included in the documentary, the Odessa, Texas gig. Well, looked like the crowd
gig
was having an...
Oh, it was an incredible gig, but
Yeah.
it was... I'll make it real fast.
Yes, it's amazing.
We pull up to this place, Odessa, Texas. It looks like it hasn't rained there in 400 years. Like, it's just... and the wind always blows 70 miles an hour. So it's just kind of like dust and haze and tumbleweeds and like abandoned oil derrick, whatever those things are. Literally just rusted and it's like, where the hell are we, man? So we walk into this place, and it's a dirt floor, and on the right is a rodeo, like a legit rodeo. and then you either go to the rodeo or you go in this building, and it was just a big long
building,
long room with picnic tables in the back, like wood picnic tables, a concrete floor, and then there was a stage, and we were like, holy crap! So. They didn't serve beer in bottles because,
of course,
people would get their heads smashed in. So it was
Blues
just like
Brothers syndrome,
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was just like solo cups and kegs. But the loophole was that you were allowed to bring your own hard liquor in fifths and handles.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So I remember we had ordered like some food. We were getting like burgers and we were having some beers. And this guy came up who had this enormous head. He was Kevin Hansen has a good sized like head. He looks like he should be on TV. This guy's head was like Kevin and a half.
Like Ice Capades, Kevin? Like if he was at
Yes. Yeah, like a parade inflatable. And he comes up and he puts his hands on the table, and his hands, like, they didn't taper at the ends. They just went straight up and ended. You know what I mean? And they were like as thick as three of my. And he's like, "So you boys play any country music?" And we were like, we play some, sort of rock, alternative rock, and
guy was like, well, you better play some country music tonight. I'm gonna tell you something. You know, and I was like, Jesus, we're all gonna die. You know, I mean, it was legitimately like, I was like, this guy could squash me like a Bud Light can. So it kind of set the mood. And then the guy from the radio station came and picked us up. And so he's driving us out. And the whole time I'm thinking like, this is the day we die. And he was driving like a Buick LeSabre with like big, cushy, like button tufted seats, you know, and it's kind of floating all over the road. And he was only maybe 5'2".
Really?
So he's like looking over the wheel.
And is this the guy said it had all the silver?
No, that was Tunes.
Yeah. Okay.
Toonz. So we get to the radio station and the first thing they said to us was like, yeah, you know, most of the people that request you guys are women. And I think I said, well, where do they get a load of us? When they see us, man, they're going to be like, wait, those are the guys that... It's like Christopher Cross, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like Christopher
exactly.
Cross has this unbelievable voice.
you're
All these women show up, and then he's like, you know, he's like Yoda or something, you know? So anyway, we do the radio thing, and we went back and we played the show, and like it was intense. Like people were amped.
That comes across in the documentary how intense it was.
Were you winning any
Lots
of them
of-
over though? Like
lots
were
of mosh-
they digging
mosh
the
pits
music?
and stuff.
Well, we had a big. We sold like 1,000 tickets to this show, and they were just smashed in because there was no. I don't think there's any regulatory oversight in West Texas for anything. You know what I mean? So it was just like many
and last
people.
calls, they just let the bulls out. Just start taking
Right.
Just start taking out the crowd.
Yeah, totally. They're like, you got 3 minutes for letting out the
A
bulls.
rodeo clown's like last call. You're like, what are you doing here?
So we played, and it was awesome. I mean, it was like one of the most intense shows I think we ever did. But in the meantime, during the show, somebody threw an empty bottle of tequila from behind, you know, way back, and it smashed on this young woman's head and cracked her skull open. But the lights were so bright, we didn't even know any of this going on. So paramedics took her out on a stretcher, and so they tell us this at the end of the show. They're like, this guy Toon goes, yeah, this woman got hit in the head with a bottle of tequila. She was bleeding like a stuck pig.
Yes.
And so Jim was like, somebody said, like, so are we going back on for an encore?
Because they wanted an encore. The crowd's all like, you know, he's calling for these guys to go back on.
And we hear this voice, get out here, you bastards. And Jim was like, so we shouldn't go on. You know, and we didn't go back on. It was just too dangerous. And we got out of there, man.
Oh, my God.
It was scary.
Odessa, Texas.
It was awesome.
Jeez.
It was
It's
made
so
for
good.
good stories.
I
you
love
know?
this, the way you set it up with like just dirt and wind.
Tumbleweed. 70-mile-per-hour winds. It's just like it sounds like Thunderdome, you know?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Rusty derricks.
Yeah.
So what are you up to these days? I know you did the Fractals, right? That's
Yep.
And I think I saw that you produced. I was listening to Susan Werner.
Yeah.
You do some production too, right? I mean,
Yeah,
So
I
you got all kinds of things going on. Eh?
Yeah, I produced her last EP at my house.
Nice,
And
really?
then
I
the
was just
one.
listening to Spotify the other day. Cool.
Yeah, that was done in
By accident. I didn't know you were.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was done in a bedroom of a 180-year-old carriage house. Yeah, yeah, and it came out good. Like when she's amazing. She's a total genius, like musically and otherwise.
Okay.
Wow.
She's, super spectacular, kind of savant-like, you know. And she has like at least one master's degree. I think she might have one in music history, but she has one in vocal performance, like opera.
Oh wow.
So, but I played on Susan Werner's very first record when I was 20. It was the very first time I was ever in a recording studio, and it was Morning Star, where now I'm the house drummer for Glenn.
Oh, yeah.
When I was 20, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like crapping myself the whole time. And that was how I met Susan. I played in her band.
with a guy named Paul Gaiman, who was a great bass player. He passed away.
He played with us.
Yeah, Paul was
way back, going back to like what was the Harris Casino? In Chester.
Yeah,
you remember he was kind of tall, but he wore a hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had a hat. It was down real low.
Storska's joint.
Paul Gaiman.
That was that night.
That was a depressing night. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are we?
Oh, no.
Well, you know what? They worked us really hard at the
Yeah.
gig. At
Oh,
ours.
sure.
And then you leave, and it's like 3 a.m, and all these people at the slot machines.
And you got to go down that super long hallway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make you
And
look
I shared
Yeah.
the elevator with a guy that turned to me and he goes, "Is Storska?" That's what he's. It's just me and him. I got the saxophone. He's like, "Is Storska?" I said, "Yeah. We're the band." He's like, "Hey, for bands, Storska." So I was like. I think it's when you came up. I was like, "Yo, did you have this guy who was just like?" And you're like, "Yeah, he didn't speak English or something." He said, "Well, he said something like his stories." So there'll be something at a wedding where like we're talking and Chico just go for Storska. he's for Storska. This is Storska's good bands. That's my memory of Harris.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, are we allowed to talk about the Jimmy Page thing and talk?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think at this point.
Well, you're asking me for permission or,
No, I'm
or
asking
Eric?
him.
Okay.
He's asking Jimmy Page.
But I thought
Over
you
there.
might-
He's over there.
Yeah.
No,
You
I
might
don't
want
even
to
know
ask the
this
questions.
You have a Jimmy Page story?
I don't.
You're expert
Well,
witnesses, right? On
yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I knew Kevin was an expert.
Was
witness.
Kevin
Were you
in-
part of?
Yeah.
Okay.
We worked with an attorney who was representing.
We needed the sound. Gonk, gonk.
Yeah, gunk, gunk, yeah. Sorry.
New York City.
These are their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a copyright case of this band,
Spirit. Right?
Spirit, had a song called Taurus. And the introduction bears a striking similarity to Stairway to Heaven. So they sued Led Zeppelin. So Kevin and I, this tells you something about the level at which this occurred. Like our friend, who's a pretty amazing attorney, but he's a pretty eccentric kind of guy. He hired us to be the expert witnesses. So I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Well, what's an expert witness and what do I have to do?
Yeah.
So I had to basically try to convince people through writing reports and doing like analysis of the music that it had been plagiarized.
Yeah.
It's an interesting story. I mean, the long and short of it was that this guy Randy California,
yeah, I know the guys from Spirit. Yeah.
right? He taught because they were on the road with Zeppelin. Jimmy Page asked him, "Hey man, what's that? The intro to that tune?"
Oh,
so he
really?
taught it
I
to him
didn't know that
backstage.
detail.
And like a couple years later, you hear, and it's like, "Hey man, that's my tune." Now, I mean, copyright stuff is very, it's very slippery, because like you have to have a certain number of notes to meet the criteria, and like that have to be in, the same. And so I was doing all sorts of like fancy schmancy stuff that I learned in college, like Schenkerian analysis and reduction, and like, well, look
Oh
at
my
these.
goodness.
These are common pitches and all this stuff. So first of all, I don't know if any of you have ever done a deposition before.
No.
I don't recommend it. It's terrible.
I've seen videos of depositions and they don't look pleasant.
Yeah.
No, especially because there was like this like white shoe lawyer from Los Angeles who just looked right through me. He's like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he's just asking me all these questions. I'm like, I don't know. It sure sounds like it to me. I don't know. So it was pretty bad. I mean, I held my own, I guess. And
Yeah.
I did most of the report writing. And then Kevin was, we actually made a note for note remake of Stairway to Heaven to demonstrate this thing. Like I even recorded like I bought a bunch of recorders.
Wow. Okay.
And Brian Bricklin was the one that did all the engineering. You guys remember Bricklin?
Yeah.
Brian's like a fantastic engineer. So it really sounded like it. It was pretty
Authentic,
amazing.
yeah.
We went to Los Angeles. Yada, yada, yada. We go to the courtroom the first day, and their lawyer sees us and just gestures to the bailiff. He comes over to Kevin and me and says, you guys can't be in here. Expert witnesses are only allowed in here if you're testifying. So we went all the way to Los Angeles. For nothing, Kevin actually did play guitar in front of them on the very last day that we were there. Kevin and I had lived together with Jim and Craig in Los Angeles for a couple months, so we drove out to the house where we used to live. We went out for lunch, hung out. We had an awesome time. We just didn't do anything related to the case, except charge meals to the attorney.
Right.
But it was pretty wild. I still can't believe that we had that experience, being that we really, I had no business writing, the most important copyright case in the history of rock music. And this schmuck from Philadelphia, this guy that plays drums from Philadelphia is writing the expert witness thing. Yeah. You could have found somebody that actually had the proper credentials to do this, But, so it kind of, it didn't work. So he lost. And then they retried it, and he lost again. And the end.
So California lost both times?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's sad is that what they wanted to do is, if they won the lawsuit, Randy California had created a foundation that got musical instruments into the hands of underprivileged kids, and specifically in inner cities.
Okay. Right.
The money was going to go to that charity. Now, if Led Zeppelin wanted to be, decent human beings, they would have said, "Here's $2 million. Make sure the kid gets a guitar."
Right.
They could settle.
But instead, they were jerks about it, and Jimmy Page is a thief. I'm just going to say it here. I'm probably going to get sued for saying that, but
Matt can tell you our podcast listenership numbers. You're not going to get sued.
I was listening to the Chico's Vibe podcast while I was drinking blood out of a goat skull.
Why are you calling him a thief?
Well, there are a lot of Led Zeppelin songs that are lifted from other.
They had to. They had to amend some of the albums to give credit to the original African American blues artists that wrote this stuff. Having said that, Led Zeppelin's one of my 5 favorite bands. They do just an
amazing job with lifting that stuff.
Their records are incredible. Jimmy Page is one of the great producers, I think, in the history of rock music. Yeah. But he stole a lot of stuff, and it was mostly stolen from people who died destitute, people that never got paid for what they wrote. Mm-hmm. And it's come on, dude.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Just be a good human being.
Those guys all got ripped off, man. Those early guys.
Yeah, they really did.
I just was listening to the thing about John Lennon's Come Together. And
Chuck Berry, he
direct steal, he almost sings the exact same words.
Pretty much.
Right here, come old flat top, he come moving up slowly. Yeah. I'm like, get out of here, Lennon.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and I don't want to believe
there's
that.
A whole other podcast. Well, next month's podcast episode is an Ed Mount Sports special, so we have to do that. But then maybe we could do songs that are stolen for the next. Oh, we got an expert witness.
That's right.
No, you don't. In name only.
Who would have been?
We get that same. We get that same lawyer to cross-examine. Yeah. By the end, he admits to murder. He's like, "I killed her. I did. It was me.
Can I go home?"
We'd like to bring in our expert witness.
I strangled her with guitar string.
We'd like to bring
John,
up
see if you
Derek
get
Hampson.
See if you could locate the. I forget the name of the band, but the gang that sued George Harrison for My Sweet Lord.
That was the Shirelles,
She's
right?
so fine.
Was it the
She's
Shirelles?
so fine.
Then, of course, there was the infamous Queen and Vanilla Ice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ice Baby.
But one goes boom, 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 boom.
That's
the difference.
No, he says doon 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 doon. That was the difference.
Totally
It doesn't sound anything like that.
Word to your mother. Man.
All right, so we have one more recurring segment to do. One of our recurring segments is we call it Songs from the Set List, where we pick a song, we call it a classic Chico's Vibe cover song that we do lots of gigs. And so we're digging deep into the barrel because we're on episode 18. This month's Matt Kelly picks this month's song for the set list.
Yes.
You did. Yeah, I did. Yes, Living on a Prayer.
Living on a Prayer.
Is this month's song from the set list. So
That's one of the songs you sang.
Yeah. We'll get to that. I mean, but why that happened. So, Living on a Prayer, it was on Bon Jovi's third album, Slippery When Wet. That was released August 18th, 1986. The song was the second number one from the album. The first number one was You Give Love a Bad Name. Right. So it's sending you guys way back into the 80s. It was spent 4 weeks at number one on the Billboard chart. From February 14th to March 14th, 1987. So it was a huge hit in 87. And, I always like to give you guys context about what was going on. This is the first song we've done from 1987. We haven't cracked. So we've done, this is the 18th song we've done. We haven't, I think Love Shack was 1989. That's the latest year that we've done. So we haven't done any songs from the 90s or the 21st century yet in our reviews. But anyway, this is 87.
In our review.
Yes. Yeah.
On the gig, ever.
Yes. No. But we might want to pick one from the 21st century for this next
one. Yeah.
Maybe. But so it was the...
I'm not picking any if it's my choice.
All right, Kev, you're going to pick.
I'll pick it.
But so I like to give you guys context, like what was for 1987, what was the top 100, Billboard Top 100 for the year.
Where's Mr. Mister in there in 1987,
86.
right? Oh, I'm off by a year.
Yeah.
Broken Wings.
Living on a Prayer was the number 10 song from the Hot 100 for 1987. The top 10, though, in my mind, it's a rough top 10. I can give you guys... You'll never guess what the number one song for 1987.
No, I am a man who will fight for your...
Earlier.
Number
one song for 1987, Walk Like an Egyptian.
No. Oh, my God.
The
You're kidding me. The Bangles.
I love the Bangles, but I don't know about the... Number two, so I love the band Heart. It was Alone by Heart.
Alone.
Yeah. It doesn't get better. Number three.
Not one of their better songs.
Shake You Down by Gregory Abbott. I couldn't even remember this.
I don't even know.
Shake You Down.
I don't even know.
I listened to it and it didn't. I was familiar with it. Number four was I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Number five, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship.
Starship.
Yeah. One of my favorite. It's not a favorite Chico's Vibe memory, but we did that once. Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. We did it for our first dance.
Yes.
Down at
I do remember that.
The Avalon Yacht Club, I think.
Maybe.
And I remember because I don't want to disappoint our fans, but we don't rehearse when we learn a new song. So we get to the song and it's first dance. And apparently I didn't read the gig email well enough. So we get there, I'm standing next to Dennis, and we're about to do the song. And he goes, you got the Grace Slick part, right? And I'm like, what song? And he's like, oh, shit, I got it. I'm like, no, I think I can. So
you started going, one pill makes you...
The thing is,
not that one.
But she does such a campy vocal. Like when you get there, you're like, oh, this.
Yeah.
They say we're crazy. Do they know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God.
It's like, oh, God, I know this. Anyway, number 6 was C'est La Vie.
Robbie Neville.
Yeah.
How'd that go? How'd that one go?
C'est La Vie, C'est La Vie.
It had kind of an R&B grooviness to it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. This is another dumb story. I did a gig with the Elastic Waistband, and he sent me the set list in advance, and he had C'est La Vie, and I'm like, oh shit! And I I charted out the horn riff and this Robbie Neville song, and it turns out it was You Never Can Tell. Oh my son of a bitch! The song starts.
You should have played the chart. You charted it out. That would have been great.
That's awesome.
God damn it!
He called it C'est La Vie.
Yes, because he does say C'est La Vie.
But one
right?
time we had 2 trumpet subs that never played with us before, and it happened to be when it was PJ Henry's. and it was you guys were doing a song that had no horn chart. And the chart that I had up, for some reason they couldn't work the iPad and get the stuff. So I put up Brandy was going to be the next chart that the horns play on. And I get off the stage and you guys are playing whatever it is, and the trumpets are going dun 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 dun. And they're doing the count and everything, and it took me a little while to figure out what's happening. And Dennis, you have this face like you look over and you see two trumpet players are playing, and you have this face like, what the fuck? You guys aren't on this song and all that. Francis Carpino was one of the. And I go up and I go, guys. I said, guys, what are you doing? They're saying we're playing Brandy. I said, this isn't Brandy.
Dude, that's awesome.
And the best was it was a Mike Giroux's trumpet 1-2 trumpet part, and they're playing it to whatever song you guys were doing.
All right, number 7 was "Here I Go Again" by Whitesnake.
Wow.
You have to go at number 8 was "The Way It Is" by Bruce Hornsby.
That's a great song.
Great song.
Number 9 was a Bob Seger song I didn't remember called "Shakedown."
I don't remember it.
It was from Beverly Hills Cop 2. Number 10 was Our Girl Tiffany was number 18 that year with "I Think We're Alone Now."
Wow.
18. So "Living on a Prayer" was voted. Spin on 18. "Living on a Prayer" was voted. VH1 labeled it the number 1 song from the 80s. It was written by Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, and Desmond Child.
Wow.
Do you know who Desmond Child is?
Yeah.
Because he's written a ton of stuff, which I didn't know until I...
For Bon Jovi?
For Bon Jovi and a bunch of other artists.
Stuff.
He wrote "I Was Made for Loving You" by Kiss.
Oh,
Kiss,
yeah.
He did "Hate Myself for Loving You" by Joan Jett. Dude
Which is
Looks Like
the same
a Lady.
song.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Dude, look like, yeah.
He did "Angel" by Aerosmith, "Bad Medicine." He wrote "Livin' La Vida Loca."
Oh, my God.
And the last one I was "Waking Up in Vegas" by Katy Perry, which I don't know. I thought Ed would know this one.
That he wrote.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And a ton more. But anyway, the song itself, "Living on a Prayer," there was actually a first version of the song, which you can find on YouTube. They eventually released it, that Bon Jovi didn't like, but Sambora talked him into reworking it. They changed the bass line. The original bass line, if you hear it, it sounds like Sugar Pie Honey Buns. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And then,
Wow.
but the song itself has that keyboard intro, bass comes in, then the drums and the talk box, which kind of makes it. Yes, yeah.
That's cool.
It's got a really neat pre-chorus, which it sounds like a chorus, and then it switches to the chorus.
And at that bar 3/4 before the
Yes,
modulation.
before the key change. Yeah.
I mean, you know what's interesting? That kind of stuff doesn't really happen in popular music anymore.
No.
And for years, it's like, oh, Bon Jovi, that's lame. But then when I go back and listen to it now, I'm like, that was actually some really well-crafted, like, pop rock.
Yeah.
It was thoughtful. It sounds good. I mean, it sounds 80s, but it still sounds like hi-fi records, when you had $1 million budget to make a record.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you did it at, Ocean Way or Power Station or like the finest studios with the best gear and the producers that really know how to get the tones,
That makes sense.
Yeah, like you're not doing it on Logic in your bedroom, like I did with Susan Werner. I did it on a 15-year-old Pro Tools rig in my bedroom. It doesn't sound quite as hi-fi as some of that stuff, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that key change, you guys would know better. Is that unusual? It seems like it goes up a little more than the standard.
It goes up a third.
Okay.
Right.
Which
it goes up a minor third, so it is an odd. I remember before we played that song, before we started playing it, I was like, if I was playing it somewhere with someone, I'd be like, we get to the key change, and I'm like, I have no idea where we went, because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I finally, okay, here's where we are, but it's not. Yeah. I know that when we have guys that sub in, like say a bass player, and they never played the song before, they never know where it goes to.
That makes sense.
Chromatic,
but it is
chromatic adventures, right?
Yeah.
Keep
sliding. It is an odd, and you don't hear that kind of a transition that
it's
much.
pretty dramatic.
Yeah,
it's actually more like
I think the
jazzy.
Titanic song has one that goes up a minor third.
Oh
like
yeah,
that too.
yes.
And it's like the tone of the. Yo. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know
There's a
what I
really
mean?
cool
Yeah.
YouTube video
Yeah.
on that. Yeah. But the unfortunate part about the keychains is where the vocals go.
Yes. Because we're in the stratosphere.
And that's
at
a
that
whole
point.
nother conversation. There's a really cool. Do you know who Rick Beato is?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a really cool Rick Beato. But he kind of hints that he thinks they recorded that with the tape slower so they could.
Right. Really?
Yeah, he
Right.
says that and he goes, "They probably didn't do it," but you know,
It
Wink,
could
wink.
be.
so we've been doing it at least 10 years. It was like if we started doing it as part of Chico's Vibe. I think it was a request, and I think. And just Eric, so you know, if I'm singing a song, it means neither of these guys wanted to sing it. So
You get the table scraps.
I do. So
Yay, black and white jelly beans. Again.
Love my good and plenty.
So I remember when I was like, he's singing, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, and I'm like, listen to it, and I thought, well, Bon Jovi. I'm the same age as Bon Jovi. I'm like, well, what does he do? How does he hit those parts in concert? So I go watching
Like
Bon
a
Jovi
current
in
video.
concert now. And what he does is he gets, we're halfway there, and he just points the mic out to the audience.
Yeah.
And he's got 20,000 people going, ah! So the first time we did it, I'm like, oh, that's what I'll do.
And nothing happened.
No, there's nothing. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you hear me in the background going, I used to do a higher harmony. I stopped doing
Did
that.
you?
I used to do it behind you on that. Because you'd be going, oh, and I'd be going, oh. And I'd be like, I'm not doing that anymore.
That's another thing. The background vocalists on the song are women.
Yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they don't sound like
Bastards.
women on the recording, but
Yeah.
you know the recording listing is it's
Right.
But it's a great song and it's a very interesting song. I think because Dennis does a lot of our set lists. So as a wedding band where people are dancing, people love that song, but where do you put it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not a dance song.
Right.
But it's a sing along.
Yeah.
It's like an anthem.
Yeah,
It's like an anthem type
Yeah.
thing.
So the challenge I always have is he always puts it in the last set.
Yeah.
And I,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and I never warm up, and I've never learned how to sing. So, so by that point, it's like, here we go.
Yeah.
But it does have drama. It does have drama to
Yeah.
the performance because you
Ah,
always a little uncertain if my head's going to explode on the gig.
That's rock and roll, man. Exploding heads, injuries.
Oh, man.
But I mean, other than that, I think some of the interesting stuff is like when we have subs, how it goes. We did it once with. I think when Kevin Hansen subbed for
Yeah.
us, and he didn't have the talk box, but he made it sound.
He
really,
made it sound that way.
really
Yeah.
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 But other than that, I mean, Dennis just stands in the corner and laughing at me.
You know what it actually is? It's one of those moments like I know because I don't play on the song.
Yeah.
And I go and you kind of scan the crowd.
Yeah.
And it's one of those everybody's having a blast.
Yes,
I know
exactly.
you're focused on the whole performance aspect of it, like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to but it's one of those songs, it's like like Hey Jude, or there's just certain songs
Yeah.
that everybody can join in on, and that's one of them.
And you know, you guys all know the performance part of it. Like, if I'm in the song and I'm halfway through and I know I'm gonna hit it all, it's like I'm the greatest ever. But then when you're halfway through, it's like it's not gonna come out. This is gonna suck. The worst singer ever.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I turn around to Brian Farr. I'm like,
No. Just end it.
but that's my main thoughts
that's
about
good.
Living on a
Yeah.
Prayer. But it's a staple. There's going to be a point where I'm just not going to be able to do it anymore. But
Right.
I just think of Triumph. People come all the way from exit 12 to see the Bon Jovi.
I just watched that actually like a couple weeks ago. Oh my God, it
He
was
just
so
said, look,
funny.
we have the Bon Jovi set list. Poop, crap, more poop, more poop.
They were a great band for me to pop on.
Who was Richie Sambora's wife at the time? Or I don't
Heather
know if it's
Locklear.
Yeah, Heather
that's
Locklear.
right.
He was going off on her.
He said, Bon Jovi, I hear you're going to play a vampire. And finally, a role that requires you to suck.
There were so many great lines in there.
And they were having fun with it. They were laughing, too.
That's good.
Yeah.
Richie Sambora is really good. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a great guitar. He might be a better vocalist than Bon Jovi. He's just not as
Right.
good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't say that in New Jersey.
Okay.
People just come
Hey,
out.
you know,
from
that's not
underneath.
even funny.
Oh,
That's not funny.
I thought
that ain't even funny, man.
I also I forgot. Do you remember? I don't know if Eric you saw this, but I know you did, Gebby. There's a wedding where Bon Jovi's a guest, and this band is doing like this super cheesy version of "Living on the
It's
Crib."
like almost like a little jazz, little 4-piece jazz.
Yeah.
The guy's playing upright.
Oh my God.
Was it the 2-piece that Eric talked about, the Farfisa?
Yes, it was. But he's just he's sitting at the wedding as a guest, and she goes out to him with a microphone, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do this."
Oh,
And
no way.
repeatedly,
Yeah,
I don't want to do
she
this,
just
and she
nagged and
just stayed
nagged.
there. And I was super. You hated her by the end.
Oh,
of the day.
God.
Yeah. It was very uncomfortable. But,
Yeah,
but
he
was-
finally got
handled-
up and
he
he-
handled it well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was just so bad. Like the band was just so bad with it. Yeah, and like you said, you just want to kill her by the end of the video.
And then there was another video of him beating the shit out of her in the parking lot.
And then you like her a little better.
No, that's like all good and respectful. If you're going to do the guy's song and he's there, and you ask him
Yes.
out of respect, and he says no, then you don't
Don't
bother
do
him.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, leave
I'm
the
waiting
fucking
for
guy
him.
alone.
Etiquette.
I'm waiting for him to be at one of our weddings, and we
Yes.
do it and say, "This is what it should sound like if you're at a wedding." You know what I mean?
That'd be great at the end of the song. You see, folks? You see how that went?
See how that went?
You taking notes?
Sambora here with you.
Yeah.
Listen to this guy.
Get Tico Torres on the phone.
So that's this month's song from
All
the
right.
set list.
Yeah.
All right.
We always wrap it up. We pick a song. And Eric, this will be interesting. We pick a song that we would like the band to do that we kind of know that we're never going to do. So it could be anything. So I'll let these guys go first. If you kind of know what we play, what we're about, Chico's Vibe, what song would you pick for us? But Dennis,
Yeah, I'm picking James by Huffamoose.
there you go.
I am. I'm going to do it.
Gab's going to pick James by Billy Joel.
Rosalinda, no. I'm going to say "Carry On, My Wayward Son" by Kansas.
Ed Mound.
I'm drawing a blank, actually.
We had a month to prepare.
Yeah. Well, I had an email I sent to Gebby of songs I want to do, and usually we don't do any.
Well, pick
songs
one
on
of
it.
them. pick one. Anyone.
I actually just heard one of them on the way here.
What'd you think?
Hungry Like a Wolf.
Which one did you like?
I
Out of those
liked them all.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh, I feel bad.
except for the first, second,
Oh,
third,
and the third one.
and fourth, and the fifth one. Yeah. No, the song I heard on the way over here was the last one you sent me. Oh God.
What you won't do for love?
Yeah.
The late
the Bobby Caldwell.
Bobby Caldwell.
Bobby
Yeah.
Caldwell.
He just died.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah,
yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
So is that your choice?
The Bobby Caldwell?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it, because I think
Okay.
Gebby would sound great on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby
I'm gonna.
And all the other songs I emailed him.
So stick with. This is dumb, but so a couple weeks ago I went with my son Alex to see Philadelphia Orchestra, and they did Rite of Spring, and there's a big lower brass presence, and the tuba player, her name's Carol Jantz, awesome tuba player.
yeah.
She has her own sort of pop band they call Tubular. So I thought we should get Carol Jantz to play with us. And I thought we could revive Ophelia.
Ophelia.
Ophelia by the band, like the Les Waltz version.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
it
had
has
the
great
chart, the whole
great
thing,
tuba
yeah.
version.
Oh,
So I'll
wow.
email her after this
Do,
gig,
yeah.
after the podcast.
But if you remember, the bride sang Ophelia, the bride, the groom.
Yeah.
yeah,
that
so we'll have to
wedding.
get the bride to come
At that
back.
wedding.
Yeah, we'll get in contact with them. They were in D.C., I think.
Eric, pick.
Can I
Put
have
you on
two?
the spot. You can do whatever. Yes.
All right, I got two, and like my yacht rock, as it's become known as,
Yeah.
is like I love that shit.
Me too.
Like,
Yeah.
Me too.
So Ambrosia, you're the biggest part of me.
That's a great
yeah.
song.
It's a great song. And 10cc, The Things We Do for Love.
That's a great song. Like walking
Dude.
in the rain.
Yeah.
But if you really listen to the architecture of that tune, Kevin Hansen and I like nerd out about this tune all the time.
Really?
It's amazing. It goes in halftime modulations.
Yeah.
That I mean, it's like unbelievable.
Okay.
But the Ambrosia tune though, that was the
Yeah.
first saxophone solo I ever learned. I was in fifth. I was in 5th grade, and I hated to read music when I was a kid. Like I didn't really become a good reader until I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I hated it. I just wanted to play everything by ear. So I learned that whole solo on my alto saxophone.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I went to play it for my teacher, and she's like, "That's great. You should learn how to read." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't like to read. I like to hear music, you know." But that would be my thing, man. Ambrosia.
Awesome. That, gentlemen,
Yeah.
that wraps up episode 18 of the Vibecast.
What's
Sir.
the song for next month?
Oh, we
right.
didn't do
Sorry.
that.
Somebody
Sorry,
pick-
we'll go back.
All right. So wait. So somebody's got to pick a 21st century song.
Yeah, it's your choice this month.
Is his choice?
Yeah.
A
Get-
21st
get
century
picked. Matt
song.
All right,
picked
I'll
last
pick one.
Yeah.
Can't
we-
Stop the Feeling. How's
There
that?
you go. Bing, ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Can't
That's-
Stop the Feeling.
It's Timberlake song. So
Jester
we're-
Timberlake.
Yeah.
You know, always gets
Gebby
no
Timberhart.
reaction. I yell out, "It's from the movie Trolls," and nothing.
You still
I
do it
still
every
do it.
time.
Because you'll be like, "This is that guy. What's his name?
Gebby Timberhart.
And I go, "It's in the movie Trolls," and it's like crickets. It's in the movie Trolls.
There's like a split second where Dennis is deciding whether he should respond to you, and he never.
He's
does.
like, "Nah, not taking the bait."
All right,
I haven't
now,
watched that movie tonight.
and now it's a wrap. All right, we'll see
Yeah,
everyone
all
next
right.
month.
Yes.
Oh, Matt, you never hit record?
Oh man, oh my goodness,
We're
Eric,
way
you're
over.
an
we're
awesome
way over
guest.
time. So
Matt,
really
we're
quick,
almost out of
Matt's like, "Get out of my house."
Yeah. Matt's been asleep for a half hour.